Hello composers, Mike here. In this video I'm going to show you 5 tips on how you can lower the CPU usage and increase your computer's efficiency in Logic Pro X. Let's learn how right now. I will also give you a bonus tip in the end of this video. Tip 1. Increase I/O buffer. So go up to the Logic menu, then to Preferences, then Audio, and here you have your audio interface set up. And this is the value you are going to change, I/O buffer size. The higher setting you use, the less strain it will be for your computer, but you will get higher latency. So when you want to play really tight parts, you want to decrease this value, which means more pressure on your CPU and computer. So the higher you increase this value, the less your CPU will have to work. Tip 2. Freeze tracks in your project. If you right-click here on any track in the upper area, you will bring up a menu like this one, and then you can click on Configure Track Header. When you activate this, the freeze button here, it will show up on every track, and if you click it, it will turn blue. Now if you press spacebar, Logic will process that entire track, and in the background it is now actually an audio version, which means you cannot go in here and edit it. It will say current track is frozen. The great advantage of this technique is that for every track you freeze, it will be less straining for your computer and CPU, because your project will only play it as an audio track in the background. Tip 3. Bounce in place. So this is basically another version. Instead of freezing an entire track, you can simply make an audio version of a MIDI region like this one, for example, by using the key command Ctrl+B to bring up the Bounce Regions in Place dialog. Now you can name this up here, strings short 2, then you can choose to leave the source if you want, you can even delete the track, but I simply use these default settings most of the time. Then you simply click OK, and now Logic will only process that region including the audio tail. And now you can mute the original MIDI track so that it will not be processed, and you actually have an audio file instead here. Tip 5. Use send effects as much as possible. Especially for reverb and delay effects, I practically always use those as send effects, because if you go into the mixer here, if I would have used lots of reverb and delay plugins on all of these channels individually, that would have taken so much power of my computer and CPU. Instead, I have them over here as send effect channels, so that's what I recommend you to do as well. Tip 5. Low Latency Mode. This is a specific feature in Logic Pro X that basically turns off powerful effects and plugins that add latency to your project by a single press of a button. You need to go up here to Customize Control Bar and add it if it's not already there, Low Latency Mode. It's this button up here, but you can also use the key command, which I have at Ctrl+Shift+L. I believe that is the default as well. Ctrl+Shift+L to turn it on. Now it will be playing in low latency mode. Now, if all these 5 tips is not enough, I actually have a bonus tip. Well, 2 bonus tips in fact this time. The first one is to go into the project settings, file, project settings, and then audio, and here you can decrease the sample rate, because the higher sample rate you have, the more stress on your CPU. I personally often use 48 kHz, but you can go down all the way to 44.1, which still is CD professional quality audio. The second bonus tip is if you go again to Logic, Preferences, and then Audio, where you can change the summing engine from high precision, meaning 64-bit, back to 32-bit, which still is way enough headroom for you to mix your music in. Check out my complete video series on Logic Pro X tutorials and tips here on my channel. Learn and master Logic Pro X to boost your music composition and production workflow.